Okay, now that the neck is sitting and it's all prepped, we have to take a look at the fret wire as well and prep it. As I said, this is stainless steel wire from Warmoth, and it comes in a pre-bent length. Normally I like to buy my wire in straight lengths and bend it myself. That way I can control the amount of overbend that I put in. But this came this way. Luckily, it's just about the right radius. It's only a slight overbend as compared to the radius of the Eric Johnson Strat neck, so that'll be good. You don't want to overbend stainless steel too much because it's so stiff. It may spring back up in the middle. Now, in order to prep this, we've got to clean it, because when this is manufactured, it's extruded, and you know, the machinery that it goes through, it's got oil, and we want to get this squeaky clean so that when it goes into the fingerboard, it sticks. So what I'm going to use is some solvent and a paper towel. You can use lacquer thinner, you can use acetone. I'm using acetone. You can use the drugstore alcohol, not a martini. Anyway, so I just load up my paper towel with a bit of acetone, and then I'm going to grab the fret wire so that my thumbnail is right up into the corner of the bead and the tang, and then just run it through. Now, you want to be careful when you're handling a radiused wire like this that you don't abuse it. You don't want to stretch it or, you know, make flat spots, change the radius of it. So there's the one side, and now I'm doing the other. There we go. And you can see that's actually pretty good. Usually it turns out you know, fairly black on a white paper towel. So there's not that much residue on there, but there was something, and we got it off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the rest of the pieces of wire. I'm assuming that this was a 24-inch piece, and normally for a Strat neck I can do a refret with 2 of these lengths if I trim them, you know, conservatively. Sometimes you might have to use a little bit extra, more than 2 pieces, especially if the neck is wide, that kind of thing. But I think we'll be able to get away with 2. All right, so here comes the fun part with stainless steel wire. It's hard to cut. So get yourself a good heavy-duty pair of side cutters. Now, first off, I've made this block. It's just a block of maple, and I drilled 24 holes and numbered each of them. And what I use this for is to organize my cut frets so that I don't get them confused, right? We'll start at number 21. We start at the widest end. Why? Because, like I said before, I try to cut the wire conservatively, meaning, you know, as close as I can to the width of the neck. Sometimes, if I'm too close, the wire is too short, and so no big deal. I can, let's say I'm cutting for the 10th fret, and I cut it a little bit too short. Well, it's not a wasted piece. I can use it for the 9th fret. If you start at the 1st fret and work your way this way, you cut a piece too short, well, then you've wasted a piece. So that's the reason for that. So let's start at the last fret. So now, I don't actually like to lay the wire in and cut it when the wire is in the slot. Some people do that, that's cool. But for me, I find that, especially with a wire that's hard to cut like this, I don't want to be wrestling with this wire, trying to cut it, and you know, abusing the fret slot here, because the tang will be bashing around and squishing around in there. So I just lay it in, I get a measure of how long it should be, I put my finger there, and then cut up flush close to my finger. I'm using the cutter that's closer to the pivot point of the side cutters because there's more leverage there. Not bad. And I place it in my, oops, my number 21 slot. Alright, so as you see, we have all 21 frets cut and installed into the block, and now it's time to install them into the neck. So what I'm going to use to just get them started is this dead blow hammer. This is a shot filled hammer, and what dead blow means is that because it's shot filled, when you hit something, the energy stays down. It doesn't bounce back up. And that is the worst thing that can happen when you're fretting. And also, you need to pound that fret in on a solid, non-bouncy surface. So what I'm going to use is this gable of my workbench. As you can see, it's connected right down to the floor. I won't use the center of the bench, and I certainly wouldn't use this side, because this is kind of a floating bench over here. You know, I'm going to lay the neck right here and start with fret number 21. I'm laying it in the slot, and I see that I've got about a 32nd of an inch overhang on each side, which is just about right. Now, I'm going to hold this down. The flat here, the flat of the neck, is going to contact fully the surface from here to here on this. And using my dead blow hammer, I'm just going to pound the very end in. There we go. And that's what I've got. Can you see that? I'm going to go ahead and do that to all of them. And then we'll move over to the press with a proper, a matched radius call, and press them in. This is just really to get them started. Oh yeah, and by the way, this was how much was left over from those two pieces. So quite a bit. And you know, Warmoth sent 4 of these pieces. And one more. Be careful you don't hit your finger. As my dad used to say, oops, hit the wrong nail. Alright, off to the press. So I'm using my drill press as an arbor press. Now, a couple of things you have to, if you're going to use a drill press, just be careful of a couple of things. Number one, it's really not meant for this kind of thing. So I'm careful to make sure that the caul is positioned right over the center of the table. I don't want the table, let me just loosen this off, I don't want to be pressing it like, you know, with a table like that, because then it will want to tilt the table this way as you apply pressure. So right over the center is where we want it, and I lock it down here, lock it down tight, and then also release pressure on this rack and pinion gear, just so that it doesn't end up buckling down here, which it could. All right. And by the way, this is a 12-inch caul to match the 12-inch radius on the Eric Johnson neck. Now, I'm going to not center the caul over the center line of the neck, because this side is already pressed in. I want to put just a little more pressure on this side. So I'm going to move it out of center this way a little bit. Something like that. Done. Let's take a look at what this looks like. Looks good. We'll continue along with the others. Yeah, it looks great. Very pleased. Alright, so we made it all the way to, where are we? Yeah, fret number 15. Everything's seated nice and tight and clean, but this is the easiest part of the neck to do. So, and that's because we're registering against a wide, flat surface. Now, the rest of the neck, the back is round. So that presents a different challenge altogether in stabilizing the neck. And the hardest area is right here, where the transition is from flat to the contour of the neck. I mean, once we get into the actual neck shaft contour here, I'll use my my oak cork padded neck cradle that I showed you before. But right here, this is where it's tricky. So what I'm going to do is use this paper pad. Let me just pull back a little bit here. Now when I try to fret here, I could just let the neck lay here and push it in, but I don't want this end of the neck that's resting on this piece of wood to get any kind of a mar or abrasion in it. So what I'm going to do is just put this pad of paper underneath it, and that'll act as a bit of a cushion. But now, because that paper is there, this is not exactly flat anymore. So, hey, easy peasy. We'll just open it up and get the thickness of paper that we want. This is kind of a down and dirty way to do it, but it works for me. And here we go. So here we are on fret number 14. Beautiful. Is good. Alright, so now we're well clear of this transition, and I can move to my neck cradle. Alright, so here we are. Yeah, we got 12 in. We're working on number 11. Now let's take a look. Yeah, looks good. And the last one. All right. So, how does it look? Pretty good. That's a good preliminary way of telling if you've got everything seated, is you look at it on a long angle like this against the light source and you'll see a fret that's sticking up immediately.